So, in a world that recently went through a Barbie and Oppenheimer takeover, smaller films may have flown a bit under the radar for some people. And due to this, they receive nowhere near the hype that they should get, despite being great movies. And while Barbie is a solid movie and Oppenheimer might just be the best film of the year so far, or at least one of them, Cloned Tyrone, in my opinion, is right there in the running. And this is exactly why we need to talk about it. So I had the privilege of seeing Cloned Tyrone before I saw Oppenheimer, and at the time I thought maybe that was a mistake because I knew Oppenheimer was going to be this heavy, deep, and just overall gigantic film, one that sticks with you long after watching it, leaving little room to focus on many other films, at least from an analytical perspective. And while Oppenheimer was all of those things, Cloned Tyrone and its story was and still is deeply embedded in my brain. And this is just simply a fantastic film, from the way that it's shot all the way down to the music, costume design, and especially its performances. But where the film really shines is in its concept and story. So the story is centered around three characters: a pimp named Slick, a prostitute named Yo-Yo, and a drug dealer named Fontaine, with Fontaine given much of the story's focus. But all three of their lives become intertwined, and in the heat of an argument, Fontaine is shot by an unsuspecting individual. Now, this all happens within the first 15 minutes or so of the film. But given the movie's title, we shouldn't be shocked when Fontaine suddenly appears back on our screens, and yet we somehow still are. Now, while the title does give some things away, the film's genius is in the fact we don't know why Fontaine is still alive, or why he's been cloned, or who even cloned him, and neither do Slick or Yo-Yo, who are understandably confused. And with all of this, we, the audience, become compelled to untangle this mystery along with the characters. So with the new Fontaine showing up on our screens, we soon get confirmation that citizens within the predominantly black and impoverished neighborhood, the Glen, are indeed being cloned, and they have been for some time now by groups of, you guessed it, predominantly white scientists, all under government-approved supervision. But what's more disturbing than this is why they are being cloned. So as we continue to follow our main characters, eventually they are able to find a bunker in which all of these experiments are taking place. And after a series of entertaining moments, they run into a scientist who is black, but is also the whitest black guy you'll possibly ever see, but that's neither here nor there. But also, he appears to be an exact copy of Fontaine. And it's through this scientist that we essentially learn that black people are being cloned as a means to create peace in society. But the only way this peace can be achieved is by whitewashing the black population, or clones, with a mysterious substance that is meant to make them more complacent in society, or as I saw it, less black. The substance has been placed in items some would consider popular amongst black communities, like fried chicken, literal grape drink, and even hair straightening products. I kid you not, these are some of the items the film chooses. Nevertheless, the scientist continues to explain the reasoning behind all of this, stating that doing this benefits everyone. And he explains assimilation is better than annihilation. And to me, this is where the film stopped being the fun and entertaining sci-fi comedy and turned into a dark and rather bleak thriller. It dawned on me that while the film is fictional, it's actually tackling some very real themes centered around the experience of black people in America. Mainly that of how the black population won't be fully accepted or receive true peace and unity in this country unless we are anything but who we are. unless our culture, the little of it we've been able to establish for ourselves since the slave era, is essentially uprooted and ultimately replaced with a more acceptable, safe, and perhaps white one. And while I understand some of the film's themes are a bit over the top and meant to be somewhat comedic, I can admit that as a black man in America, this is how it feels sometimes. I know how it feels not to be accepted simply because I am a black man. Not to mention there are individuals who really buy into this level of thinking when it comes to black people and minorities in general in America. Unless we literally become quote-unquote clones, compliant to a culture and system that was never meant for us, we will be subjected to possible annihilation. So going back to the scientist, he's basically saying that those are the two choices for black Americans: assimilation or annihilation. And with the civil unrest that's existed in this country basically since Europeans settled here and proclaimed themselves superior to everyone, it's not that hard to see that individuals that share a different culture, speak different languages, or have non-white skin will have a harder time navigating society. And while I understand it's a movie and some may think annihilation is a strong and over-the-top word, tell that to the families of the many unarmed and innocent black individuals who have been murdered for being just that, black. And the beginning of the film echoes this, as we learn that the scientist that is explaining all of this to our main characters is indeed the original Fontaine, hence why they look exactly alike. And in the beginning of the film, it is his brother who we see get murdered by the police. So in his mind, forcing black people to assimilate to a more passive and white-friendly culture is his warped way of keeping black people safe. And this revelation in the film isn't just a great twist, but a heartbreaking one that stuck with me long after the film's end. It's this storytelling that's exactly why They Cloned Tyrone was and still is on my mind till this day. Its ability to make you think about the ills of our society, but in a refreshingly original manner. The film would have been great even without the hard-hitting themes, as it's phenomenally acted and shot. The cinematography is great here, as it successfully creates this fictional land and makes it feel real. I also appreciated the fact that it's not necessarily tied down to any specific time frame. It could be the 1970s, but it could also be 2023. And it's these small details that help create the perfect science fiction setting while still capturing the Blaxploitation vibe the film was trying to achieve. It's a great concoction of mystery, comedy, and entertainment, but most importantly, it's saying something. And films that accomplish all of these deserve the highest praise. With that in mind, I give They Cloned Tyrone an 8.8 out of 10. And this brings us to the end, and I want to apologize because the breakdown I'm pretty sure was confusing, especially for those of you who haven't seen the movie, and I'm gonna say that that's actually okay, because I would highly recommend that you go and check this one out for yourself for those of you who haven't seen it. Those of you who have, let me know what you thought about this one in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And if you did, you know, what were some of your favorite parts? What didn't you like? I want to know about it all. Let's get the discussion going. For those of you who are coming back to the channel, I appreciate you guys as always for supporting me. And for those of you who are new, consider hitting that subscribe button, because we talk about films a lot here and I like to get your input as well. So if you're a fan of movies, this is the place to be. Let's continue to grow this community. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one.